Welcome back, guys, to another very spooky team. This time it's spooky not because it's very Halloween themed, but because this team is a fucking menace. This was our more competitive build for our monster team today. There's a little bit of a situation we've got going on here. There's supposed to be a second Wendigo, basically, or whatever Colossal Retaliator that you like in that spot. There's plenty good monster Colossal Retaliators, and we do have 15 points open from that second Wendigo. Personally, I prefer the second Wendigo, especially on this team. It's a little more aggressive, a little less reliant on your opponent, which is what I prefer, though any Colossal Retaliator works perfectly fine. Getting into the team straight up, we've got Venom Magneto. If you see any X-Men team or Monster team or Ruler team or Hellfire, anything that has keywords with this guy, and the Venom Magneto is not on it, it's because they can't afford him, because this piece is like $300. But this piece is broken all the way to shit. So, in case you're not aware of this monstrosity, he's got a low dial of 35 points, which is what we're playing him at today. He's got this trait, Plasticity, Super Senses. If Venom Magneto is within 4 squares and line of fire of an opposing character, he can't be targeted by range attacks. So, he's got a rollout, he's hard to break away from, easy to break away with, and half the time you can't target him from range attacks. So you have to run up and melee him, and then you're Plasticity him, and then he can just run away from you and Super Sense your roll. It's annoying. Also, he has energy shield deflection, so even if you do manage to shoot him, he goes up, and also, he carries 4. He's passenger 4. That's the kind of nuts part, in combination with the telekinesis, and telekinesis is free. So, you know, he just does whatever the fuck he wants. This is most often going to be used to reposition your characters with the telekinesis as free, or just the normal telekinesis, or both, and the carrying 4, as well as at the beginning of the game to be used his free telekinesis to fling an item to you, and this team we're using the power gem, which is also another broken as shit item. And then his special damage trait here, which he actually does not start with on this click, his next click goes to it, is a special leadership. Realistically, he's just getting hit and just dying because he's got 2 clicks of life. So realistically, this is never going to come up. But technically, if he gets like energy, if he gets caught in an energy explosion and he's got the toughness and the energy explosion isn't penetrating, it can come up. He's got leadership, and when he uses it and succeeds, instead you may remove an action token from another friendly character with a monster keyword within range and line of fire, and then give an action token to an opposing adjacent character that is adjacent to that character. So basically, you pick somebody within 8 squares that he can see that's on your team, and then you give their token to an enemy that's next to them. You remove your guy and give it to the opponent. It's pretty good, especially because of that free telekinesis and he can carry 4 people. He just gets your team wherever you want them to be, whenever you want them to be. He's crazy good on mobility. And we're gonna pair him up with our other support character here, the Commish. Another broken as shit piece for monster teams and police and detectives and Dark Knights, technically. We're running him at his 25 point line. He's got a traded outwit. He modifies his attack by +1 when he's attacking 1 or more characters with a shared keyword. The rest of this is if you're playing on a Secret 16, basically, and we're not. So if he shares, realistically, he's gonna only share detective, monster, or police, because there's just more Marvel characters than there are DC characters, and all of his other keywords are DC keywords, though sometimes you'll get the extra keyword on the DC guy. It's nice. Also, he's not really attacking much. It's mostly just that traded outwit, which is nice. And we've also got his power action. Once per game, generate a rookie bystander that gains the police keyword. And that's this little bystander guy that we've got right here. We'll take a look at him in a minute. It's also on the back of the Commish's card. We've got This Is It, Old Friend. Do or Die time. As a power action, you can choose an adjacent friendly character that shares a keyword with the Commish, which is going to be monster. And the chosen character may make an attack using its printed combat values. After resolutions, if it missed all targets, give them an action token. So they just make an attack from where they're standing. They don't get to move, they don't get to running shot or anything like that. They just make an attack with their printed combat values. So you can't perplex any of these numbers up, you can't enhance any of these numbers up, which is why, realistically, we're not running that shit. It doesn't really matter, because the commissioner here is going to be allowing our Blackheart to make nuts range attacks, as well as our Supergirl. And if you get him up into melee with our Sky Tyrant, then we can allow Sky Tyrant to make a couple extra attacks as well. It's also pretty easy to get him adjacent to Wendigo for more melee attacks, because he is the 2x2 base. You can do it a little safer than with the Sky Tyrant or the Blackheart when they're in their melee forms, because also the giantness of Wendigo will provide cover for the Commissioner, and he does have stealth. So that's a nice little synergy, although Wendigo is very squishy and often killed first, because he's only got 1 click of life, and anybody who's played against a Wendigo knows exactly how terrifying it is and that they need to murder it instantly. Also, the Commissioner can target through hindering, which is nice. Because of that outwit, he can outwit an opponent's stealth, and then you can laser blast the shit out of them. Looking at the rest of his dial here, we've got a Mastermind, which could come up, although realistically, This is only going to be going to Sky Tyrant once Sky Tyrant has some of his counters on him. We'll get into that in a little bit. The rest of this team is not terribly tanky. Again, we're starting him on his lower dial. He does have the Underworld keyword, so he can carry 2 characters that share a keyword as long as they're less points than him, but he's the lowest points on the team. The rookie does not actually have a keyword. It just has the police team ability. So he can't carry it also because the rookie is giant. So the rookie will often be carrying him. It has the running shot, so that's nice. We can see the actual thing here. It has the Batman team ability and the police team ability and probability control, but only if the commissioner is within range and line of fire, and this ability is protected outwit. So we've got our outwit, we've got our probs that comes with us, we've got an impervious for a rollout, running shot, dual targeting, penetrating with the police team ability, so that if he can see them and the commish can see them, they're dropping their defenses by 2. He's doing a lot of damage. She can pick up that police team ability usefulness if they can see whoever she's targeting, because she's our other ranged attacker. We'll also notice on his dial here that he drops from his what I would call more useful abilities pretty quick. He's got stealth on his top dial, he's got the extra attack, make one of your friendlies do an extra attack on his top dial, and he's got the leadership on his top dial. He loses that pretty quick. He goes down to penetrating, which is still nice. He can make his own attacks, although again, it's a 9 and a 10, it's not great. That enhancement is pretty good, so I do like keeping him next to Supergirl, and the sidestep is nice for a little utility, especially with that carrying. You can do some sidestep dances with this team eventually. So between the Commissioner and Venom Magneto, we have infinite movement on our team. We have a bunch of really good utility powers in the outwit and the leadership and the probability control that we get from rookie. We have extra attacks being made by our characters, but who's actually making those attacks? First off, we'll take a look at Supergirl. So she is also a Secret 6, although again, we're only running 2 of them, so the Secret 6 team ability is not going to come up. There are 6 of them, but she also has the traded outwit and the +1 attack when she's attacking a character with a shared keyword. Her only generic keyword is monster, so she's only really good against other monster teams. Then she has the traded, I'm here to give you a choice. When Supergirl would damage a character without an infection token, give them an infection token. Characters with infection tokens gain the monster keyword. So this is another way for her to give your opponents the monster keyword so that her and the commish, when he's not on that top tile, he's a little bit more of an attacker, can share a keyword with the opponents. She's also got this special attack poison. It's not on her top tile. If we look at the back of her card real quick, just take a quick little gander. It's on everything except for her top click here, where she loses her running shot, goes to a sidestep, picks up a couple more defense abilities until that last click where she's just got a high number. It's not great. And she's got the close combat expert in case they want to run at her. She's still mostly a range attacker, though if they want to run at her, she can still defend herself decently when she goes up to that 4 damage again. She's also got the Injustice League ability, so when she rolls 10, 11, 12, she removes her action token, and Superman team ability, so she can also see through stealth. So between the stealth busting outwitting from him, the stealth busting outwitting from her, and her just not giving a shit about stealth, we don't really care if your opponent's on stealth. If they're running an all Batman team or a bunch of spies, we don't really care. We're just gonna kill them. It's that easy. So for her actual thing, it's poison, and when she uses it, characters within range and with infection tokens are considered adjacent, and damage dealt to them is penetrating. So the infection tokens not only matter for the monster keyword for the Secret 6 guys and the Sky Tyrant, but also for her poison. So you do want to be giving these out as much as possible, and especially on that top click where she has her energy explosion, this is not a once per turn thing, right? So if they group up, you can just energy explosion them all, and then give all of them an infection token. And then if she takes any damage for the entire rest of the game, you just poison their entire team with penetrating damage as long as they're within range. She doesn't even need to see them, and her range is 8, so that's pretty good. You can just hide her behind some buildings, hide her in some cover, something like that, put her behind some guys, make her hard to hit, and just keep poisoning your opponents with the penetrating poison, since they're all monsters now, which is nice. They're all infected. Next up, we've got Sky Tyrant, our melee carry here, whereas Supergirl is our more ranged attacker. He's also Secret 6, so he's also got the outwit and the Secret 6 thing and the +1 when it's sharing keywords. His keywords are a little more generic. He's got Brute, Monster, Past, and Warrior as his generic keywords, as well as Dark Knights, Injustice Society, and Secret 6, which the rest of them all have the Dark Knights and Secret 6 as well. So it's not crazy there, but it's mostly that Brute, Monster, Past, Warrior. There's a lot of characters. Thanos is Past. There's a lot of characters that are Monster randomly, as this team shows pretty easily. There's a lot of Brutes as well and Warriors. These are all fairly common keywords, which is nice. He gets the +1 attack when attacking them. Also, when Sky Tyrant KOs an opposing character, give him a reincarnation token. When Sky Tyrant would be KO'd, this is by any means. As far as I'm aware, there's no ability in the game that kills him that kind of ignores his reincarnation tokens. You may instead remove a reincarnation token and turn him to click 7, which is his last click. So he's when he kills somebody, he has a second life. And this stacks infinitely. There's no max on the reincarnation tokens. So if he just keeps killing squishies or keeps killing bystanders, because there's a lot of teams that generate a lot of bystanders, then he's just kind of unkillable. That's just how he rolls. Also, looking at his dial here, we can see that he's got a special movement power on his top click, which is Flurry, Charge, but do not have speed. We know I love my Flurry charges, and not having speed means he moves 11 squares. What the hell is that? When Sky Tyrant hits after resolutions, he may move up to half his speed while using ignore characters. So this is after resolutions of the entire attack, and since he flurries, he attacks twice. And he moves half of his speed, which is 6, so he flies at you from 11 squares away, flurries you twice. Also, he's got Quake, so he's also quaking your whole team. Also, he's got Penetrating, so he's penetrating your whole team. So he's gonna run at you, Quake you twice. He's gonna hit a squishy, because he's an 11 attack. If any of the characters in his attack share any keywords with him, he gets +1 for the whole attack. So even if their squishies aren't like Past Warrior Brute Monster, if one of their carries is, which is fairly common, then he still gets the +1 attack while hitting the AoE attack, so he can still use that benefit to kill the squishies. Then he will hit them twice with the double Quake, the Penetrating Quake. Most support characters have 3 to 4 health, so this will kill them. And then he will flee 12 squares away, because he's hit twice, and it's after resolutions, so he moves half his speed both times. Also, he doesn't have to break away. Also, he's flying, so he's gonna get to you. This figure is broken all the way to hell. We're playing him at his 50-point line because it doesn't matter. He can't die, and he just needs to get 1 attack on your squishy backline, and then he's never dying because of this reincarnation token ability. He's got, if we look at the rest of his dial, later on, he only has that on his top click, so if you hit him with the special charge flurry stuff, so if you pink him for 1 damage, and he's only got the energy shield deflection, he doesn't have like a really good reducer, so you just kill him for 4 damage before he does anything. That's the preferred way to deal with this character. He is a pain in the ass. He demands answers from your opponent immediately. Because if they can't deal with him, he wins the game by himself. He's also got the Injustice League, so on the 10, 11, 12, he's removing action tokens, so he's attacking very often. If we're pairing him next to the Commissioner to give even more attacks, because he's flying so he can carry the Commissioner the entire time he's flying around going sicko mode, then with that leadership, we'll remove the token as well, so he can just keep cruising. The Commissioner can make him make more attacks if you don't want him to stay next to your opponent. Because also this says when Sky Tyrant hits, not with like the special flurry. So if the Commissioner lets Sky Tyrant hit, he only makes 1 attack. You can't use the flurry on this ability. But if he hits, then Sky Tyrant can still move to 6. So there's just a lot of bullshit going on between these two characters. A lot of the Secret 6 characters are broken all the way to hell. That's why they're all chases. So, you know, here we are in Chase Land. This whole team is very high rarity, and I apologize for that. But we're bringing you a good team. We're bringing you a good-ass team. I would not feel bad about taking this team to a tournament, a high-level tournament. Sky Tyrant, you see he's got the Quake, he's got the penetrating damage the whole way down. And this 2 doesn't really matter, except that he goes to the Blade, so we're off the Quake. But the Blades can make him do a lot of damage because he still has that Flurry. So we've got Charge, Flurry, Blades, Exploit Weakness. We know I love that. And we've got, with the Flurry, he's rolling that 10, 11, 12 a little more often. If either of your Flurry rolls are the 10, 11, 12, he removes the token. If both of them are, he removes both tokens. Because why not? So Sky Tyrant is very, very dumb. And if you have been watching our previous monster videos, you will be familiar with Blackhearts. So we're going to run through him a little quickly because we've done a couple videos on Blackheart already. You also know that this character is supreme bullshit. He's got leadership, and when he succeeds, instead, you may generate a Hellfire Club guard. As a power action, you can turn all Hellfire Club guards to Click 9, which I refer to as Sicko Fucko mode, where they all have Charge, Flurry, Blades, Exploit Weakness. That's my favorite combo of keywords. I'm going to play every character on the game that can let me do that. Then he's also got Heart of Darkness, also traded. If a character has been KO'd since your last turn, which he's going to be KOing your opponents, he's going to be KOing his own Hellfire Club guards, as we'll see in a minute. All of his damage is penetrating. So also, your reducers don't matter. And then as a free action, once per turn, you can KO a friendly Hellfire Club guard, which will give him penetrating damage. And then if you did, you remove all action tokens for Blackheart, heal him 1 click, and he can use either Charge or Running Shot as free, which is dumb. He just gets to do everything. So typically, the play pattern with this guy is wait until you get 2 Hellfire Club guards, power action, turn them all to Click 9, have them go murder your opponents, then kill one of them, heal him up 1, clear him, and make an attack. That's typically what I do with Blackheart. That's the typical play pattern that I see with him. He's also got a stop click, plot twist, he has 2. He has 2 stop clicks that both have Mastermind. He also has Cosmic, only while the stop clicks are being revealed. So if you heal him up off his stop click, he no longer has Cosmic, but then once he gets back onto the stop click, he then has Cosmic again. And when either of the stop clicks are first revealed, you generate a Hellfire Club guard. So typically, you're going to hit probably one of your leadership rolls, and that'll be your 1 Hellfire Club guard, and then your opponent's going to hit Blackheart. That's going to be your 2nd Hellfire Club guard. Then you're going to go Sicko Fucko mode, and you're going to heal, and you're going to do a billion things, and you're going to just kill your opponent. Looking at his card, he also has Mystics the whole way with 2 stop clicks, makes that even more of a pain in the ass. And he's got what I refer to as 2 modes, basically. We're playing him on his low dial here because that's all that matters. We want him to get to those stop clicks as fast as possible, actually. It's better if he hits those. He's got his ranged mode, where he's got energy explosion and toughness and probs and running shot, and then his like kind of secondary range mode where that's actually poison, not energy explosion, so do keep an eye on that. They're slightly different. But he's still got that running shot with that probs. Running shot goes with probs, and then Flurry goes with blades. That's kind of how I remember it, and the outwits. So when your opponent's next to him, you can be flurrying and bladesing and outwitting their annoying defenses. Also, he has penetrating at this point probably, so that's something to keep in mind. This character does a million things. Also, you get your free charge, which you can then flurry, so this character, he does a lot of things. Last up on the list, we've got the bullshit himself, Mr. Wendigo. Again, he's been on a few of our monster teams lately because he's also just a broken-ass, bullshit-ass beast. So we're gonna go through him pretty quick. So he's got sidestep, but only if a character has a wounded token. Whenever an opposing character takes damage from any attack, you give that character a wounded token if they don't already have one. Whenever a character heals, remove that wounded token. There's not a whole lot of healing in the game of Heroclix generally, so if you give them a wounded token, it's on them. Especially since Blackheart has a bunch of attacks, and Tyrant has a bunch of attacks, and he's gonna be making people have more attacks, and she's got energy explosion. He's got energy explosion. The energy explosion will give everybody a wounded token basically, unless they have the double reducer. And in Blackheart's case, he can get penetrating, so it doesn't matter if they have a reducer. He also has colossal stamina traded and steal energy. So when he uses steal energy, he may heal past the starting line. So that's just dumb. Whenever you see this line, you know that it's dumb, especially since he has a long ass dial and a 15-point line that is the bottom of his dial. This 15-point line should not exist, realistically. You should be forced to play this guy at 100. But here we are, living in this world where Wendigo's a 15-point piece. To continue the bullshit, on his technically top click, but bottom click, the one he started him on for 15 points anyways, he's got this charge flurry, and when Wendigo ends his movement, after resolutions, he may make a close attack, but only to target a character with a wounded token. So that's fine, because you're gonna charge at them. Now, admittedly, his charge range is only 4 squares, but he does have the colossal reach, so you can hit people that are like 6 squares away instead of 5 squares away. You can catch some opponents off guard if they forget about the colossal reach. You're gonna charge at them, you're gonna flurry, you're gonna hit them twice, then they're gonna get a wounded token. Then since you've ended your movement, you're gonna hit them again, and then they're gonna get another wounded token in case they haven't already. And then you're gonna sidestep, and you're gonna have an increased breakaway because you're giant, or you're just not gonna even be next to them to need to break away because you're giant, so you can hit them from 2 squares away. And then, hey, guess what? You've ended a movement, so you're gonna attack again. And then you're gonna give them another wounded token. So, and then they're just gonna, and then next turn, you're just gonna murder all of them. Also, the entire time you're healing. You're using steal energy this entire time. He does have a stop click on the bottom. It does have invulnerability, which means that he cannot be poisoned or energy explosioned without a penetrating, which is quite nice. And if an opposing character does not have a wounded token, he does not stop. So keep that in mind. Once he started healing up, you do have to have a guy on the board with a wounded token that you don't mind letting sit there in order for him to get his stop click. Personally, I like to designate kind of a medium attacker as the guy who I'm just going to let sit with a wounded token. Certain characters, after you hit them for a couple points of damage, lose a lot of their utility and their usefulness, and they still have their wounded token on them, and they're not really a threat anymore. Now, you could finish them off, and definitely once you get closer to the end of the game for time-wise, you do want to make sure you get that kill blow for those points, but to make sure Wendigo has a little bit more survivability, because he is a very easy character to kill, especially in the early game, your opponent will just snipe him with a random like 10 range or an 8 range thing when he's out of range. It's a little annoying. Make sure that you have somebody who is like able to hold that wounded token for most of the game so that his stop click is still live. Lastly, we've got our good friend, the Power Gem, one of the most broken items in the game currently. If you've played against this item, you know why. It's because it lets them kill anybody they want to. So, as you see, the first line of text on this is modified damage +1. Also, it gives them close combat expert and range combat expert. So now this is a little redundant on Supergirl because she already has her close combat expert, but nobody else here has close combat expert or range combat expert. So they get that. So not only do they get their +1 attack from the range combat expert or the close combat expert, they also get the +1 damage from that, and then they also get the +1 damage from this. And then also if they're one of the Secret 6 guys, they get the +1 attack from attacking a monster because Supergirl has turned their whole team into monsters, and also they're all wounded, and also Wendigo's killing them all. Then, when this character hits, if the attack roll is a 10 or higher, which we've got a bunch of Injustice League guys and a bunch of guys who are flurrying, so are making multiple attacks, so we're rolling a lot of dice here to try and hit those 10-ups, you deal 1 more penetrating damage. So this functionally increases your damage by 3. And this deal 1 penetrating damage is not affected by the rule of 3. So, when we've got the commish on his enhancement click, if Blackheart or Supergirl have our Power Gem, which giving it to Tyrant's a little risky. I prefer to give it to Blackheart because Tyrant is typically one of the first ones that your opponent's trying to kill, and Blackheart is a little harder to kill, so he doesn't drop the Power Gem as often. You get your enhancement for the +1 damage. You get your +1 damage here. You get your range combat expert for 1 +1 damage. And then if he rolls a 10, 11, or 12, you get 1 more damage. Also, he has a flat damage of 3. So you're dealing 7 damage on that attack. Very interesting. Also, this works on energy explosions. If you energy explosion an opponent or quake an opponent, if you give it to Sky Tyrant, and they roll the 10 or higher after resolutions, deal a hit target 1 penetrating damage. So it's not like all of them, but you can deal 1 extra damage to one of their squishies or to one of their carries or to one of their guys who resist your thing. Although again, penetrating damage on their AoEs, hard to do that against this team. And you can just do a little extra damage. Also, since both of these guys will be flurrying, then this would be double triggering. That is our more competitively minded monster team. These pieces are all individually broken as shit, with the only exception being Supergirl. She would be the only one that I would think about replacing on this team. The rest of these characters are all broken all the way to hell, including this Power Gem, including this rookie. They are also very, very powerful for the team. And yeah, this team is fucking crazy. Keep in mind that we do, in this current build, have a second Wendigo on this team. We have a second figure. We just forgot to grab it today. Shut up, don't worry about it. So if you want to build this team yourself, if you have all of these pieces already, I'm sure you're aware of what these pieces do, and you're aware that this is a team that you're probably playing. And if you don't have all these pieces, I apologize. This whole team is close to $1,000. It's like $800, $900 or something like that. These are a bunch of expensive ass chases and expensive ass supers and dumb bullshit. But if you want to take a look at a very powerful team that I would not feel bad taking to a high level tournament, this is what we brought to you today. And I apologize for any of you who have to play against this in the future.